Hi there, my name's Nessie and you're listening to a podcast of the Culture Cafe for show 80 on RTE 2XM, which was originally broadcast on January the 31st, 2013.
You're listening to the podcast of Culture Cafe on 2XM.
Now, during the week, I caught up with Rea Garvey. Rea was one-time frontman of German-based band Raymond, and he's also a solo artist in his own right, as well as being a judge on The Voice, or a mentor on The Voice of Germany. He's coming back here in February, the 18th of February. He's playing a gig in the Academy 2. I caught up with him, and the first question I had was, after such a lengthy career in Raymond, why did he decide to release a solo album in 2011?
I guess it was just the right time. I mean, the more I actually kind of went into the experience of being a solo artist and like releasing the solo album, the more I realised it was the perfect timing, really. Because you just realise that things start to fit. It's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. And anything before would have probably been wrong. So I don't tend to try and analyse everything and try and, look for answers. I tend to try and just go through the process, and if it feels like the right time, then it normally is. And that's kind of how it happened with me doing my first solo album. I just, I said to the band that I wanted to do a solo album, and at the time everybody was pretty cool about it, and then eventually, I think, the band just kind of started to wane away, and I was already working on the album, and that's kind of what I'm doing now, and I'm really proud of what I've achieved with Raymond, but I'm loving being out here on my own, and it's a new experience, and it's a great experience.
And some of that experience includes you writing with the likes of Ian Archer, and also besides all that, you have done some vocals for people like Paul Van Dyke, and you've duetted with Mary J. Blige, and you can kind of hear those influences coming through in the album.
I think it's really you get your basket of influences, and when you. I'm definitely not somebody who tries to kind of avoid influences. I love enjoying the music of other people and then letting it influence me. And Paul has been a massive influence. Paul's music, I've always been a huge fan of what he does. And also when I started off working with Gem and Spoon, who introduced me to Paul, I loved what he did with my music and the remixes, and then we went on tour together, and it was just it was a whole different fucking world in comparison to what I do. When you end up on stage in Kiev in front of 40,000 people, or you're in New York or in LA or Miami, and you're playing on these stages with Paul Van Dyke, it's you get inspired, you get influenced, and you put it in your basket, and when you get into the studio, you just start drawing from that. I think Mary J. would have been a bit less influential on the basis of it was a short kind of relationship, in a sense of I knew that when I met her, it was going to be a kind of, sudden impact, and I was curious to see if I'd get on with her. And she's a fantastic person. It was we spent a day in LA shooting the video and doing the song, and it was just the song was difficult for me to do, to be honest with you, but when someone said to me, do you want to do a song with Mary J. Blige? I was fuck
yeah, of course.
I'll have a go at that. So, I'm not sure if that influenced me as much as, work with maybe Nelly Furtado or Paul or Gem and Spoon or ATP. There's definitely, and working with Andy Chatterley in London, Andy's done some great stuff, from Muse, or he's done music which I wouldn't have had in my bag, and we wrote a lot together, and it was pretty amazing being in the studio with him. And Ian Archer is also fantastic, and I'm looking forward to writing with him again for the next album. So it's cool.
This tour that you're on now is it's the Encore,
yep.
And you released a different version of the album as well, with some remixes and different tracks added on, shall we say? Is that kind of all these influences that you had? Did you feel it was important to show this other side to you, and that was a way of doing it?
To be honest with you, kind of combination of everything. I'd met Andy, and then we'd written 4 songs together, and it was right at the end of the writing period, and I realized as well that I hadn't finished writing with Andy. We had the songs after doing. This is the 3rd tour of the album, and every tour has been sold out, and it's just been amazing. And not having enough music was killing me on the last 2 tours. So I went back in the studio with Annie and we wrote more. We wrote another 5 songs, and then we did this theme track to a film. And it literally was like, okay, we have to get this out there. This is just not for our own idle use. And the record company was obviously over the moon about it, but it was more a case of, in today's world, you don't have to talk about albums anymore. It's quite sad, but the freedom that it gives you, like the digital world gives you, is as an artist or as a musician, that you can develop your own albums, and you can put them out there and you say, this is how I see my album. And like 5 minutes later, it's on the internet and it doesn't belong to you anymore. And literally, people cut it up and do whatever they want. And through iTunes, you can, cherry pick your album. You don't necessarily have to have the whole thing. But I'm still from that genre. And for me, there's always a vision of an album that has a start and it has a finish and it has a story and it has, an influence and it has an inspiration. And the digital world tends to destroy that. So, I wanted to have that out there one time where I can go, this is my album, complete. This is the Encore.
Ryan Sheridan is also on tour, has been on tour with you. How'd you meet up with Ryan?
He was at the first venue. Sorry, he was. I had never met Ryan before, and I had seen his tracks on YouTube, and I'd heard about him, and I was kind of like going, okay, I'll have a look at this. And I love where he's from. I love his energy, and it reminds me. He came definitely through the same path that I did, which was first of all Grafton Street, and then Temple Bar, and playing all these places. You become very confident because if you don't really build your confidence in your performance on the street, if you don't make it through that, then you're done, And you should see him on the stage. He's fucking amazing.
He's great.
They're flipping out. I'm sure because of his own success in Ireland, he's been able to build that over what period of time, and he's there, and people love to come and see him. But you can imagine there's 5,000 people who've never heard of him before, and he comes out, and that's really the true kind of I won't call it a test, but that's a real challenge for somebody, and he just comes out and nails it in the first second, and the audience love him, and he's I'm really proud of the decision to bring him on tour, because for me the support band is very much an intricate part of the whole evening. I was never really a believer in kind of just shoving somebody out there to fill the time. I want to be involved in the whole evening, and so he gets up there, and like last night, people just fall in love with him, and we see it every night on or the next day on the Facebook, on my own page or on his page. Everybody's like, oh, it was amazing, and it's getting to the point now I'm thinking maybe the last few shows you might have to skip.
You're also a judge on The Voice of Germany. How did you find that? And Nina was on the judging panel with you. She's legendary.
She is legendary, yeah. She's an incredible woman. I didn't know her before the show. Well, I met her a few times, but I'd never really got to know her. And we got to know each other on the show. She's amazing, and fell in love with her, no question about it. She's a rock idol, she was at the birth of punk, if you want it like that, in Germany, and the Neue Deutsche Welle, and we get on really, really well, and we're good friends now, so that's very buzzy. I've done the show twice now, and I won it last time, which was funny and fun, and now I'm doing this tour, and then I'm really hoping that the rest of the year I'm just going to spend traveling around doing music, and television's a different world than being on stage playing live. It's totally different.
Yeah, definitely. All the cameras, you're very conscious, I think. I've tried the TV camera thing a couple of times, and you can be really conscious, and it's like, no, I prefer being behind a microphone where nobody can see me, thank you.
Well, I think it's I forgot the cameras within, because I went, fuck it, if you try and prepare for that, you can't, so there's no point. So it's either you're good enough as who you are, and thankfully I had no bad experiences, but it was just more a case of it's intensive and time consuming. I'm a musician, so and this was a great kind of parallel world, but I wanted to get back to being in studio, writing music and stuff like that, and thankfully I can. So my plan is literally it worked out really well. I've been on tour for nearly 18 months or 2 years now, and literally this is the last tour done 2 TV shows in the meantime, and I think I'm going to do a break.
Yeah, busy guy. Coming back to your Irish roots, there's a couple of your songs, one of the band songs actually, Set of Keys, and then one of your own songs, I think it's Colour Me In.
Yeah.
They're very kind of Irish, but how much of your Irish upbringing has had an influence on who you are now, living and working in Germany? Or primarily in Germany?
I don't know if you can take your roots out, you know. I mean, essentially, like they're there, and like I say, the influences, this basket of influences that you have. I mean, I draw on it all the time. Colour Me In is definitely, a Set of Keys, I wouldn't really hear that now, to be honest with you, but Colour Me In is definitely very, I love it for its Irish influences. The funny thing is I wrote it in Los Angeles with a friend of mine who's definitely not Irish, but I don't know, it kind of was, I think really if you think of music, songs especially, you start off with an idea, and before you know it, it's really about turning over every stone to find out where the rest of the parts for the song. And if you're true to the song, you really realize you don't control it as much as you think you do. And Colour Me In was, I mean, it just developed into this kind of song about all the parts of who you are is who you are. You know what I mean? And like being Irish is something that is a big part of who I am, and something I'm proud of, and you know, wear on my sleeve. And Colour Me In was a huge hit over here, so obviously the people like it too.
Does it irk you a bit that you wouldn't be as well known in Ireland as you would be in Europe?
Not really. I'm really happy that I get to walk around at home without having to
sign autographs every 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Like, you know, I really enjoy the anonymity. I'm very much on the grey line of thinking I might not even try, you know. Because, I mean, it's not that I won't go and play there. I definitely will. I love playing in Dublin. I grew up there, you know. It's like the music scene in Dublin is fucking legend, you know. I mean, it's for me the buzz. But I tell you, to be honest with you, my guest list in Dublin is fucking, you know, we might have to move into a bigger fucking venue. But it's like, I mean, you know, because I went to college in Dublin. I grew up in Dublin, you know, and in a sense of like, you know, from my teenagers up. And I love going back and playing there. If I don't break it in Ireland the same way, it's then I guess it's just meant to be, and I'm very okay with that, because you know I'd be totally stupid not to be grateful for what I have, you know. And I think it's just things are the way they are. I tend, like I said at the start, I tend not to try and analyze everything. I think we spend so much time thinking. I'm much more of a person who likes to just do and accept the consequences of doing your best, you know.
Now, you've played to some absolutely like huge audiences, like Live Earth, and that time Obama went to Berlin, you played at that. There was something like 250,000 people or 200,000 people or something like that. That's just an amazing crowd. But when it comes to coming back here to Dublin and playing in a smaller venue, how do you kind of sculpt or trim back your show to for a small venue and for the audience?
I think the best way, obviously from production, like, I mean, you can't take a third of it with you, you know. Like when you start going into smaller clubs, it's really, you just come with your band equipment and that's it. Like, and I love it. I'm very, very comfortable because I don't have to change, you know. I get up on stage and I love getting lost in the music and just enjoying it, you know. And I mean, between Amsterdam or Paris or Luxembourg or Berlin, I mean, when I get on stage, it's really just a case of like, I go out there and just sing the songs that I love, you know. And the audience, I think the most important thing is that they recognize that. And I don't think that a stage, in the sense of like what's on the stage, is going to change that. You know what I mean? It's like I really respect like bands like U2, who know they have 60,000 people, and not everybody's going to be able to see you or look you in the eyes. So it's sometimes difficult to transport that emotion. So you build a stage where the elements become a part of what you unfortunately physically can't give 60,000 people. But when you get into a club, you don't need it all. You know, it's just you. And I remember playing in London in Barfly like a few years ago, and telling the audience that we were now the audience of Finsbury Park, and seeing like, you know, a few hundred people just go fucking mental and loving it. Like, I mean, if you can visualize it, then you're there, you know.
Well, listen, thanks a million for taking the time out. The gig happens on February the 18th, which isn't too far away. And looking forward to the night. See you there.
Take care. Thanks a million, Vanessa. God bless.
Well, that's it for now. If you'd like to find out more about the Culture Cafe, you can go to my blog, which is nessymon.com. If you'd like to send me an email or suggest somebody I should chat to on the Culture Cafe, my email address is nessie@nessymon.com. So until next time, thanks for listening and talk to you soon. Bye.